people pay their money, they could talk to me in here after they paid their money, because, you know, motherfuckers want to get in free all the time. So I get to the door and shit. Get to the door, I never forget, man. And it's Mob James. You know what I mean? And he dressed shitty sharp, though. I ain't gonna bullshit you. He dressed so fly and shit. I look him up and down. I say, all right, homie. You know what I mean? And he said, man, FG, I got my people from Vegas and shit with me. We trying to come party with you. Only thing I think back to the two little homies, they must have told this nigga I got the spot. You know, it didn't dawn, nothing else dawned on. So I tell my cashier, I say, let Mob in free, man, and charge his people's half price. And bullshit you not and shit, when the feds come get me and shit, they take me downtown to the Wilshire building. As soon as I get up to me and shit, and the dude say, hey man, you don't remember me? You let us in the club half price, homie.
I just want to speak about this. First and foremost, there are still people out there who are defending Mob James. There are still people out there saying that FG is lying. The person that's in the surveillance photos doesn't look like Mob James. And people are saying, hey, there's a lot of people involved in FG's story. What if you got the confidential informant wrong? All right, now let me explain this to you. FG owned a nightclub. On a particular night, Mob James came in with a group of friends from Vegas. Mob James moved to Vegas in 1999. Turns out these people that he brought to the club as his so-called friends turned out to be FBI agents. An FBI agent was brought to FG 4 years prior in 2000 while James made this, he bought an eighth of a key, 4.5 ounces or something like that from FG. He had an FBI agent in the car. And a lot of people are wondering, okay, why was Mob James so friendly with these FBI agents that he basically pulled a Donnie Brasco? It's as if he was so committed to working with the FBI that, you know, it just seems like it was beyond the typical informant situation where somebody gets in trouble for their own case, and in order to get a reduced sentence or get their case thrown out, they turn in a couple of people. But with this Mob James situation, it seems like something else, something a little bit deeper. And what I want to explain to you is, you know, it's a very common tactic for the FBI to actually hire people. They hire street dudes, and what they do is they hire street dudes and they employ them. They give them a lot of money, you know. So essentially, these guys are working for the FBI, and they're working for a paycheck. I don't know how Mob James got hooked up with the FBI like that, but I do know a very similar case. There was a guy named Greg Scarpa, and I'm actually going through Greg Scarpa's FBI files right here just to give you an idea of what kind of informant Mob James was. Greg Scarpa was a member of the Colombo crime family, which is a mafia family from New York City, and he began working for the FBI in 1963. And what I want to explain to you is he was an informant from 1963 to 1993, and what he would do is he would give information on the mob. He would give different information about whatever he knew. For example, source advised. This is one of his and when he would give his information to his FBI handler, they would type it up in what they call tailcast. So he'll call and he'll give him some information. They'll put the date, they'll put the month, they'll put the year, and they'll put what he said. So Greg Scarpa said on November 19th, 1981, source advised that the Buffalino family boss, which is the mafia family that was in western Pennsylvania, Buffalo, New York, Russell Buffalino would not serve any jail time as a result of his recent conviction in New York City. The source, Greg Scarpa, noted that Buffalino was in his late 70s and having been sentenced 10 years will certainly blah blah blah. November 19th, 1981, source furnished information concerning mafia activities in the gambling casinos and ancillary operations in Atlantic City. Source advised that the old Bruno family, now under the control of Nicky Scarfos, has primary controlling interests in Atlantic City. So basically, every day of every month of every year from 1963, Greg Scarpa turned in information. And every month, the agent, like all of his paperwork, Greg Scarpa's paperwork is on the FBI website. Every month, the agents will have to send in a review of Greg Scarpa's information in order for the superior, the person who's leading the FBI, to decide if they want to keep paying him for this information, to see if this information is valuable enough to keep paying. And sometimes when this information leads to a lot of arrests and this information is particularly good, they give him a raise. All right, so let's read this. Bureau, hold on, you see that? You see that Bureau authorization is requested to pay captioned source and additional redacted for information furnished on a COD basis and for expenses incurred. So basically they were saying, hey, he needs additional information because he did a good job this, in the past. He needs a raise, and he needs more money delivered on a COD basis, which means a cash on demand basis. And he needs money for expenses. So, for example, if he wants to bring down a drug dealer, he needs money to buy the drugs. So, and then they will actually pay him a salary, and he would get like promoted. He would get more money. Every month when they review the information, they would decide, hey, we need to give him more money. And actually, there was a court case. His FBI handler, make a long story short, got charged with assisting Greg Scarpa with committing murders. So basically, he would give Greg Scarpa information and stuff like that, and Greg Scarpa, like on people who were informing on Greg Scarpa, and Greg Scarpa would end up killing him and blah 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 blah. And yeah, so it came out in that guy's trial, that FBI agent's trial, Lynn DeVecchio, in the trial, Greg Scarpa ended up being paid millions. From 1963 to 1993, he got paid over maybe 3 to 4 million. So yeah, Mob James was operating in a similar capacity. The FBI calls this the top echelon program. It's when people are not informing because they got in trouble and need their time reduced. People are informing because they're working with the FBI, and they only allow and they call it the top echelon informant program because only the top guys, top criminals, top drug dealers, top mafia guys, top gangbangers like Mob James are allowed into this program, and they're actually getting a salary. They're actually getting paid every week, a paycheck. So that's why Mob James was doing this. That's why he brought those FBI agents into the nightclub, because he was getting paid. Peace.